Hi, everybody. I'm Elida Zweidler-McKay with ZM Coach, where we're all about helping you take your career to the next level, whether that's moving up in your current organization, finding a new job somewhere else, or making the most of a promotion that you've already gotten. So, today I want to talk with you about the power of your voice tone. This is something that I have spent many, many years learning and developing inside myself and in my supporting my clients to build. And I want to start by telling you a little bit about my own career challenges. So, early on in my career, I was working for a big consulting company, and my manager sent me off to a training that was called "How to Deal with Difficult People." And I was so excited to go to that training because I dealt with a lot of really difficult people, clients who wouldn't listen to what I had to say, support staff who seemed to not want to help me. I traveled a lot. So, travel desk people who were not very competent. And I was so excited to learn how I was going to deal with all of these difficult people in my life more effectively. And it was a humbling experience to realize that the punchline of that whole training was that if you're finding yourself dealing with a lot of difficult people, the fact is that you are probably the one being difficult. It was well delivered, but very humbling to get that message and to kind of discover the part that I played in making those encounters not go the way that I wanted them to. And what I learned from that particular training were some specific strategies of ways that I could communicate with people. And that worked for a little while, but I was still craving more, like more of a deeper understanding and a broader understanding of really, how I could show up differently in the world and how I could make the kinds of connections and relationships and have the kinds of conversations that would actually go somewhere and not get stuck in conflict and tension and frustration. And so it was several years later that I came across the work that we call SAVVY, the System for Analyzing Verbal Interaction. And what this is an observation tool that helps people, was built for research to really understand what was happening in a communication system like a training group or a classroom or a therapy session. The people who developed it wanted a way to really observe what was going on objectively in those kinds of settings. And they focused on communication, and specifically they focused on communication behaviors to identify what are the communication behaviors that help messages get through and help conversations work effectively, and what are the behaviors that get in the way of that. And I just found this whole model to be so enlightening. It was like all of a sudden I could see what was happening in the conversations that didn't go well. And I could see what was happening in the conversations that did go well. And I could see how they were different. And even more importantly, I could point to specific behaviors and strategies that I could use to help those discussions go a little better, or to notice when they were going off track and then to do something different to see if I could shift it. So it wasn't, I mean, what was great about it was that there were specific strategies, but I wasn't just learning if this happens, say this. I was learning this whole framework that helped me think differently about what I would say and how I would say it and how I could bring my information across to somebody else in a way that they could hear it and work with it, even if we were in some kind of disagreement, or even if we had a really different point of view about what should happen or how things should go. And so I was all in. I learned it. I studied it. I became certified to teach it. It was, over my lifetime, it has been extremely useful in my parenting. It's been useful in my work with clients. It's been useful in my work in my homeowners associations and other volunteer positions. Really, any kind of relationship where there's bound to be some sort of conflict or difference that you have to work through. Having this framework in my mind and this set of skills and tools, sort of in my way of being, has helped me come across and with a lot more confidence and a lot more gravitas, and in a way that people will kind of pick up on what I'm laying down and work with me to reach whatever creative solutions we need to reach. But the other major transformation that happened for me in learning Savvy was one of the workshops that I was participating in. The instructor suggested that if we wanted to, rather than thinking about a conversation outside of ourselves where we had been in a discussion with somebody else, we could actually focus on, oh, that's my cat. You have to see what this guy's up to. There he is. In this particular session, she suggested that rather than necessarily focusing on conversations that were happening outside of us, that we could focus on our internal dialogue and notice the voice tone that we were using inside our own heads when we talk to ourselves. And so I did the exercise in that way. And I will tell you, that moment was absolutely profound, because what I discovered was that my internal dialogue was even more critical, even more harsh, even more impatient than anything I had ever dared let out of me. It's like I've socialized enough that I knew better than to act toward other people the way I talk to myself. So even when I was sent off to that dealing with difficult people class, the ways that I interacted with other people were never as bad as what I was doing inside my own head. But what happens is that the way we talk to ourselves inside our own heads creates kind of a communication climate. And it creates a tone. And then that tone can influence how we talk to other people and how we interact with other people. And that's absolutely what was happening for me. So as much as I was learning how to apply better communication strategies outside myself, inside myself, I was still pretty upset and mean and irritated and frustrated and, fighting and lashing out against myself. And with that going on, it was a lot of work to then translate to a different way of working when I was trying to work with other people. But when I had that discovery, all of a sudden it was like I could shift how I show up for myself in the world. And then it became just 20 times easier to shift how I was working with other people. And that's why when I work with my clients on executive presence, we start with your internal executive presence. We start with what's happening inside of you so that you can create a climate inside of you that mirrors the climate outside of you that you want to create as a leader. So engaging, innovative, creative, with room for people to make mistakes and learn, with room for people to have differences of opinions and not fight over them. We create all of that, and it sounds a little funny to talk about it this way, but we create all that inside you so that you don't have to be somebody different inside you from who you're trying to be outside of you. And that I have found from my own career, my own life, and for the clients that I've worked with has made the biggest difference. Because when you have an alignment and a congruence between how you treat yourself and how you treat other people, it is much easier to show up in the world the way you want to show up and to have the kind of influence and gain the kind of recognition and the jobs and the opportunities and the pay raises and all that stuff that go with it. If this is intriguing to you, something you'd like to know more about, there are a couple of different ways that you could do that. First of all, we have Savvy trainings that we're offering where we teach that communication framework and we teach you the skills that have helped me throughout my career with my own communications with other people. And you can learn more about that on my website at zmcoach.net. Just click the link for communications training. The other thing that you can do is you can book a call and talk with us about what it might look like for us to work together. We will get on the call for about 45 minutes and talk with you about what's happening in your career right now, where you might be stalled, what some of these challenges are that you might be facing in terms of how you're interacting with other people or how people are taking you in or how they're seeing you. We'll also talk with you about where you want to go in your career. And if we can help you get from here to there, we will absolutely talk with you about what that could look like. The call is absolutely free. And our goal for you is to get some real clarity about what your next steps are, whether you end up working with us or not. You can book that at zmcoach.com/apply. So zmcoach.net for the communications training and zmcoach.com/apply to book a call to talk with us. Either way, we would love to support you in your journey as you move forward in your career. We'd love to help you be someone who's getting noticed, getting recognized, who's able to kind of have that gravitas that people pay attention to so that you can get the kind of results that are going to move your career forward, and you can do it in a way that feels good and where going to work is a genuine pleasure every day. We look forward to talking to you. Take care.